Shabbat Shalom, Mishpaka. I just wanted to come on and give everyone Sabbath greetings. I know that many of you are today out celebrating the Feast of Trumpets or Yom T'ruah. Some of us are on various different calendars, and so many of us actually observe the celebration on different days because there isn't a consensus in the body on which calendar we should be observing. So I just want to kind of hang out for a minute before I get into it and give folks a chance to come online. My intention today is to go through some scriptures that will help us be prepared for observing Yom T'ruah. I personally am not observing Yom T'ruah today. I will be observing on the 22nd of September. So I'm just going to hang out for a second and give folks a chance to come on into the room. And again, I want to give everyone Sabbath greetings and wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom. Let me see here. Bear with me. Okay, looks like we've got some folks who are in. Great. Just going to give us a moment to have a few more people join on. And then I'm going to get started going over several scriptures pertaining to the season as we're dealing with this season of the fall feast coming in and preparing our hearts and our minds to be ready to receive our returning King who is coming for his bride, a bride without spot or blemish, a bride that is set apart to him, because she is washed in the blood of the Lamb. And for those who are new to the Hebrew way or are unfamiliar with the Hebrew way, we'll kind of try to highlight some things to help you understand how the appointments, which is the Hebrew word, it's moed or moedim, appointments of the Most High Yahudah, are actual rehearsals to help prepare us for our walk and our time with him and his plan of redemption for us. And so with that being said, I just want to kind of give folks a minute to join in. And we're going to get started first with I'm going to start in the book of Matthew. So if you don't have your scriptures, can go ahead and gather your scriptures up, because we're going to be reading and kind of going through some things for a moment. So I'm going to be starting with Matthew chapter 24, and I am reading from I'm not reading from the Et Sefer today. I'm reading from the scriptures from the Institute of Scripture Research 2009 edition. So let's see, if you're there in the room, everybody say shalom so I'll know who's on. All right. Okay. So let's get started in Matthew. And I'm going to start reading from Matthew chapter 24, verse 1. I have already done the Hebrew prayers for the reading of the word. I'm not going to do the prayers here because most of you that are in this particular group don't understand the prayers. And it's not something that I've taught on before in this group. So I'm just going to try to keep it simplified because the purpose of this group is to lay foundation. So I'm reading from Matthew chapter 24, and I'm going to read the entire chapter. And then I'm going to switch over to Matthew chapter 25 to the parable of the 10 virgins. And going out, Yahushua went away from the set apart place, and his taught ones came near to point, out to him the buildings of the set apart place. So I'm going to start over. And going out, Yahushua went away from the set apart place, or the temple, and his taught ones came near to point out to him the buildings of the set apart place, or temple. And Yahushua said to them, "Do you not see all of these? Truly I say to you, not one stone shall be left here upon another at all, which shall not be thrown down." And as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the taught ones came to him separately, saying, Say to us. They asked 3 questions, so listen carefully. Say to us, when shall this be? And what is the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? So 3 questions, because he said, you see all these buildings here? I'm telling you that not one of them shall have a stone still standing, that they're all going to be thrown down. And so in response to that, they asked the 3 questions. When shall this be? What is the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? And so Matthew 24 basically is an outline for our generation to understand what is coming. And so there's a lot of things that's going on in the world right now. It's got a lot of people going through a lot of changes with depression and anxiety. And, you know, we're in a time of unrest that we've never been in before. And so hopefully this word will bring some comfort to you and give you some direction as to what is actually going on, because the Most High has not left us unaware. So Matthew 24 is basically an outline for the end times, and we are in them. So he says in verse 4, And Yahushua answering said to them, Take heed that no one leads you astray. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and they shall lead many astray. And you shall begin to hear of fightings and reports of fightings. See that you are not troubled, for these have to take place, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and reign against reign, and there shall be scarcities of food, and deadly diseases, and earthquakes in divers places. And all these are the beginning of birth pains. So we're just getting started. Anybody who's gone through labor knows what that means. It means that we got a long road ahead, an arduous road ahead. And as birth pains intensify, then the child is ready to be brought forth. But we are in the beginning of birth pains. Verse 9, Then they shall deliver you up to affliction and kill you, and you shall be hated by all nations for my name's sake. Then many shall stumble and shall deliver up one another and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall arise and lead many astray. And because of the increase in lawlessness, the love of many shall become cold. Lawlessness means to be without the law, which is a tenet of doctrine in the churches today, that the law is done away with and that we are no longer under the law, which is a false premise. The rules and instructions of Yahweh's kingdom are permanent. They are forever. They have never been done away with. They are instructions for us to navigate through this realm, and they point us to Messiah, who says that he didn't come to destroy the law, but to fulfill the law. The law is completed in him, and it reveals to us how we stay connected to his walk and his way so that we are sealed in him. We observe the law because of our redemption. The law doesn't redeem us. It is the Messiah who has redeemed us. But because of our redemption, we are able to obey and walk in obedience to his instructions. And that's how we demonstrate our love for the Most High, is to obey him. He says, if you love me, obey my commandments, obey my instructions, and that is his law. Just like a parent gives you rules for the house, and we're subject to that authority, we're also subject to the authority of the local and state and federal government. And to think that we're not subject to the authority of the Most High with respect to his instructions for us is folly. So again, verse 12, And because of the increase in lawlessness, the love of many shall become cold. But he who shall have endured to the end shall be saved. Endurance in the face of lawlessness is what he is requiring of us to overcome. And this good news, or Bezorah, of the rain shall be proclaimed in all the world as a witness to all the nations, and then the end shall come. So when you see the abomination that lays waste, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, set up in the set-apart place, he who reads, let him understand. Then let those who are in Yahudah flee to the mountains. Let him who is on the housetop not come down to take whatever out of his house. Let him who is in the field not turn back to get his garments. And woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing children in those days. And pray that your flight does not take place in winter or on the Sabbath, for then there shall be great distress, such as has not been since the beginning of the world until this time, no, nor ever shall be. That is the great distress that is coming upon the entire world and all the nations. That is a time of pressing of the olives. And we are olives from his very own olive tree. And to those who have taken hold of Yashar'al, that's the tree that you are grafted into, the olive tree, which brings forth olives. And olives are used to produce oil in the worship of the Most High, to anoint the Most High. So as you are going through and you're feeling the weight of the times that we're in, anoint him with the oil from your pressing, because that is the point for us to identify with him in his suffering and to become co-laborers in the suffering of the suffering servant, who is our example. He says, take up your stake and follow me. And where was he going? He was going to lay it all down for the reign of the Most High, to redeem us, because he has given us life through his body. And our lives are supposed to be a living example to give life to others in the body, so that they see our good works and esteem our heavenly Abba, our heavenly Father, the Most High Yahudah. And so that is how we come together as a body, and we are to be a living word, a living fountains of living water are supposed to flow from us to give life to those around us. So get that. So back to verse 22, I'm reading from Matthew chapter 24, from those who may have joined in later. And if those days were not shortened, no flesh would be saved. But for the sake of the chosen ones, those days shall be shortened. If anyone then says to you, look, here is the Messiah, or there, do not believe, for false messiahs and false prophets shall arise, and they shall show great signs and wonders, so as to lead astray, if possible, even the chosen ones. See, I have forewarned you. So if they say to you, look, he is in the desert, do not go out, or look, he is in the inner room, do not believe. For as lightning comes from the east and shines to the west, so also shall the coming of the Son of Adam, or the Son of Man, be. That is a reference to Messiah in the flesh, coming as the second Adam. For by one man sin entered into the world and separated us from our Heavenly Father, Avinu Melkenu, which is our Father, our King in the Hebrew. Then by one man, Messiah Yahushua, the second Adam, we are restored to that right relationship that was always intended, the intimate relationship that was always intended from the beginning. So I'm reading in Matthew chapter 24, verse 28. For wherever the dead body is, there the eagles shall be gathered together. And immediately after the distress of those days, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give its light, and the stars shall fall from the heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then the sign, here we are. This is the beginning to understand what we are gathering to when we are celebrating the Feast of Trumpets, or the day of the blowing of the trumpets. And we're going to get into it. again, verse 30. And the sign of the son of Adam shall appear in the heaven. And then all the tribes of the earth shall mourn, and they shall see the son of Adam coming on the clouds of the heavens with the power and much esteem, with power and much esteem. And he shall send his messengers with a great sound of a trumpet. And they shall gather together his chosen ones from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. And learn this parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So you also, when you see all these, know that he is near, even at the door. And he is the door. He is the door for the sheep to enter into the set apart ark of the Most High. He is the ark of the covering. Verse 34, truly I say to you, this generation shall by no means pass away until all this takes place. The heaven and the earth shall by no means pass away, but my words, verse 35, the heaven and the earth shall pass away, but my words shall by no means pass away. But concerning that day and the hour no one knows, not even the messengers of the heavens, but my Father only. And as the days of Noah, so also shall the coming of the Son of Adam be. For as they were in the days before the flood, eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and they did not know until the flood came and took them all away, so also the coming of the Son of Adam shall be. But he just gave us the parable of the fig tree to know that when the fig tree is tender and is about to bud, then we know that summer is near. So we are to watch and pray so that we know the season of his return. We don't know the day or the hour, but we know the season. We know from the signs that he has given us to be prepared. But for those who are not on post, those who are not watching and praying, those who are going about their business and not about the Father's business, upon them he comes as a thief in the night. Upon them he comes as one who is unexpected. So it says in verse 43, and know this, that if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Because of this, be ready too, for the Son of Adam is coming at an hour when you do not expect him. Who then is trustworthy and wise? Who then is a trustworthy and wise servant, whom his master set over his household to give him food in season? Blessed is that servant whom his master, having come, shall find so doing. Truly I say to you that he shall set him over all his possessions. But if that evil servant says in his heart, my master is delaying his coming, and begins to beat his fellow servants and to eat and drink with the drunkards, the master of that servant shall come on a day when he does not expect it, and at an hour he does not know, and shall cut him in two, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites, and there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Turn with me over to Matthew chapter 25, and we're starting with verse 1. Bear with me just a second here. Starting with verse 1. Then the reign of the heavens shall be compared to 10 maidens or 10 virgins, who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise and 5 foolish. Those who were foolish, having taken their lamps, took no oil with them. Having taken their lamps, they took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their containers with their lamps. Now while the bridegroom took time, they all slumbered and slept, and at midnight a cry was heard, a cry, which is a loud noise, an alarm of such is a cry. And see, the bridegroom is coming. Go out to meet him. So there was a loud cry or an alarm or a teruah, because the word teruah, which is Strong's 8643, it means a shout or a loud noise or a blast of war or an alarm or the sound of simcha, great joy or rejoicing. So catch that. Again, we have here the sound of teruah, heralding the coming of the bridegroom. The coming of the bridegroom. Verse 6, and at midnight a cry was heard, see, the bridegroom is coming. Go out to meet him. Then all those maidens rose up and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, give us of your oil, because our lamps are going out. But the wise answered, saying, no, indeed, there would not be enough for us and you. Instead, you go to those who sell and buy for yourselves. Go to those who sell and buy for yourselves. So the wise virgins tell the foolish virgins to go to those who sell and buy for themselves. But I'm recalling scripture says that the Messiah tells us to come to him and buy freely, without money. Come and buy. So catch the difference there, because we have the prosperity gospel that you can go out there and you can purchase and end up with a lamp with no oil, or you can come and you can buy from the one who is the light of the world, who sets our hearts, our internal lamps aflame for him. He says that he wishes that we would be hot or cold, but not lukewarm. And so he doesn't want us to be half full. He wants us to be either full or empty, because if we're empty, he will fill us. And if we are full, then that means we are filled. But if we're just running around mediocre, then that means that we don't feel like we need anything. We're not low, we're doing okay. We're just moderately making it through. But that is not the way. It's not for us to make our own way through. It is for us to be empowered by the Ruach HaKodesh, the set-apart spirit that gives us power to be light and salt in the earth. Again, so that others will have the benefit of our testimony, just like we have the benefit of the Messiah's testimony, that we become one unified body in him. Because the trumpet gathering is to gather us together in power. So catch that. So again, I'm going back up to verse 9. I'm in Matthew chapter 25, verse 9. But the wise answered, saying, no, indeed, there would not be enough for us and you. Instead, go to those who sell and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding feast. Those who were ready went in with him to the wedding feast. And the door was shut. So the fall festivals are kind of outlining a theme. In the theme, we have the return, or, we say the return of the king, or we have the coming of the bridegroom. And so we have a union that we're looking forward to, of connecting the bride to the bridegroom. And then we have a coming together in that covenant, or what they call a consummation of that marriage. And then we have a marriage union that we are to enjoy in perpetuity. So we have that gathering together. So that is Yom T'ruah, that is the Day of Atonement, or the shedding of the blood. And we have Sukkot, which is the Feast of Tabernacles, acknowledging Emmanuel, God with us, or Yah with us, tabernacle together with us in his tent of the flesh, which is also the veil. So the fall moeds, or fall appointments, or fall festivals outline those parts of our redemptive and eternal plan of the Most High, setting things back in proper order. So again, I'm picking back up in verse 10. I'm reading Matthew chapter 25, verse 10. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding feast, and the door was shut. And later, the other maidens also came, saying, Master, Master, open up for us. But he answering said, Truly I say to you, I do not know you. I do not know you. Watch therefore, because you do not know the day nor the hour in which the Son of Adam or the Son of Man is coming. So that is the theme, to be prepared in this season for the coming of the bridegroom. The coming of the bridegroom. And this season we are commanded in Leviticus chapter 23. And this is the difference between the Hebraic walk, or Hadaric, the way, Echad, which is one way. This is the difference between that walk and the walk the other way. You know, like Run DMC says, walk this way, or Aerosmith, whichever one you want to fall under. Walk this way, we walk this way. He says, follow me. So when Messiah came in the flesh, he came when Yahudah took on the body, becoming Emmanuel, Yah with us, and came in the flesh as the anointed to show us the way back to that intimate, exclusive relationship that we had with him when we were in the garden with him and he would walk around in the cool of the day. We are supposed to be with him under the cloud of his covering in the cool of the day, enjoying his presence, not hiding from him because of shame, but ready to commune with him because we have that connected, loving relationship with him. So that is the point. So turn with me over to Leviticus, or Vayikra in the Hebrew, which means and he called. And we're going to look at verse 23 through 25. Okay. And it says, And Yahudah spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Yashar'al. It's Yashar'al, incorrectly rendered Yisrael. That'll be another teaching for another day. But when I say Yashar'al, know that I'm referring to the nation of Yisrael, or Israel, as some pronounce it. Speak to the children of Yashar'al, saying, In the 7th month, on the 1st day of the month, you have a rest, a remembrance of blowing of trumpets, a set-apart gathering. You do no servile work, and you shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahudah. So let wisdom have his work here. Initially, our calendar had 10 months, which is why the Gregorian calendar, which is the calendar that we're on, initially had 10 months, which is why the last month of the year is called December, or Deca. 10 for Deca, November, 9 for Novum. You have October, which we know is 8, and September is 7. So 7, 8, 9, those last couple months of the year. September coincides on the Hebraic or the Ibrit calendar as the 7th month, or the month of Tishri, some call it. But correctly rendered, they would just be by numbers and not names, because that That's another teaching. I don't want to get too deep because, like I said, this group is to lay foundation. And so that is why it's happening in this season in September, sometimes October, but typically September, late September, we have the remembrance of the blowing of the shofar. And for those who don't know what a shofar is, it is a ram's horn. And this is what the ram's horn looks like. This is a small one. This is my first shofar. And this is a larger one. This is also a shofar. So this is what they look like. And why a ram's horn? A ram's horn, because the ram points to when we look at Abraham, when Abraham was told to offer up his son Yitzhak. That passage of scripture some refer to as the binding of Isaac. And he took Isaac and he went with Isaac up on Mount Moriah to offer Isaac as a sacrifice to the Most High. And Isaac was the seed of the promise. He was the promised son. His name in Hebrew means laughter. Because when Sarah found out she was going to have a baby at 90, she thought it was hilarious. And so she laughed. And so the child was named Laughter. But when we get away from the Hebrew, a lot of that meaning is lost. And so as things are being restored, understanding is being restored. And so when Abraham was told to take the boy up and to offer the boy on Mount Moriah, Abraham remembered and knew the word of the Most High that in Isaac his seed would be called, and that his seed would be like the stars of the heaven and the sand of the sea, that would be numerous without number. And so he didn't doubt. He just, knew that he just needed to be obedient. He just needed to follow through. And even though things didn't quite seem like it made much sense, he was going to trust Yahudah anyway. So he takes the boy and he goes up to the mountain, and the boy says, who was actually a young man by then, he says, we've got the wood for the sacrifice and we've got everything for the sacrifice. Daddy, where's the ram? Where's the sacrifice? And Abraham says to him, Yahudah will provide. He will provide a sacrifice for himself. And Abraham's speaking prophetically, and he doesn't even realize he's speaking prophetically. So when he binds Isaac to the altar on Mount Moriah, he is about to slay the boy. And the messenger from Yah comes and intercedes and says, no, do not lay a hand on him, because I know that you fear me. That means that you trust me completely, not that you're terrified of me, but that you fear me, that you trust me completely, that you would not withhold your son, your only son of the promise, that you would not withhold him from me. And Abraham looked up, and there was a ram caught in the bush by the horns. And instead of offering Isaac, he offered the ram that was caught in the bush by the horns. And so in that moment of obedience, the entire plan of salvation was revealed to Abraham, who Yahudah called his friend. Recall that before he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, he went and he spoke to Abraham, and he had a meal with Abraham in the flesh. He appeared to Abraham in the flesh, because Messiah didn't just come in the flesh as the Messiah the first time. He's constantly doing it all up and down, in and out through the Old Testament. So it wasn't foreign for him to take on a body. Just like in the garden, it says that he was walking in the garden in the cool of the day. He took on a body. So don't be confused by that. We are his creation. He can do with us what he wills. But his desire for us is good. His desire for us is to be under his banner of love. That is his desire for us. But he's not one that's going to force intimacy on us. He is going to woo us and court us and draw us through his loving kindness, through his renewed compassion. And so back to Abraham. Abraham saw the redemptive plan revealed in the flesh through the example that was given to him when he was told to offer up Isaac. And it also set Abraham, who is called the first Hebrew, apart from the nations, which, you know, the term is Gentile or Goyim for the nations. Those are those who are outside of the covenant. And so we're referring to the Abrahamic covenant right now. And so those nations or Goyim or Gentiles had practice of blood sacrifice, where they were constantly offering their children or passing their children through to Molech, which is what the scripture says, sacrificing their unborn or sacrificing their living children, doing blood rituals and blood sacrifice with them. And so the Most High makes a distinction. He does a separation. I am not requiring that of you. I am not calling you to be like the nations around you. I'm calling you to be separate and a peculiar people, a treasure to me. And instead of requiring you to give a blood sacrifice, I will provide a sacrifice of my own way and my own choosing, because my ways are higher than your ways. I'm not going to take from you. I'm going to give to you. Everything in the universe is designed to give. Everything. The trees give off oxygen. Everything gives. The earth produces. It produces life. It produces fruit. Everything is designed to give. It is man that is the one that takes away. But the Most High is setting things back in order. He's bringing us back to a place of stewardship and husbandry, where there is nourishing and there is love and there is respect. And so instead of requiring that from Abraham through Isaac, he puts the ram in the bush and he gives a picture of the lamb that was to come. And so that is why the ram's horn. Okay, so let us turn over to Joel chapter 2. We are laying the foundation for why we celebrate Yom T'ruah. We're going to turn over to Joel chapter 2. Hang on. I don't know why I'm having trouble finding it, because I've been back and forth through a couple of different scriptures, and some of them have different layouts. All of them don't follow the order of the Tanakh, because I've been back and forth. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to digress. I'm in Joel chapter 2, and I'm going to read verses 1 through 11. Blow a ram's horn in Zion and sound an alarm in my set-apart mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the earth tremble, for the day of Yahudah is coming, for it is near. So this is an alignment to preparation. Again, just like we read in Matthew chapter 24, he has not left us to be unaware. So I'm going to start over, chapter 2, verse 1. Blow a ram's horn or sound a shofar in Zion and sound an alarm in my set-apart mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the earth tremble, for the day of Yahudah is coming, for it is near. A day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and thick darkness, like the morning clouds spread over the mountains, a people many and strong, the like of whom has never been, nor shall there ever be again after them. To the years of many generations ahead of them, a fire has consumed, and behind them a flame burns. Before them the land is like the Garden of Eden, and behind them a desert waste. And from them there is no escape. Their appearance is like the appearance of horses, and they run like steeds. And the noise of chariots, they leap over mountaintops, and the noise of a flaming fire consuming stubble, as a mighty people set in battle array. Before them, peoples are in anguish, all faces become flushed. They run like mighty men, they climb the wall like men of battle. Everyone goes on his way, and they do not break ranks, and they do not press one another. Everyone goes in his path. They fall among the weapons, but they do not stop. They rush on the city, they run on the wall. They climb into the houses, they enter at the windows like a thief. The earth shall tremble before them, the heavens shall shake, the sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars withdraw their brightness. And Yahudah shall give forth his voice before his army, for his camp is very great. For mighty is the doer of his word, for the day of Yahudah is great and very awesome, and who does bear it? So, in Joel chapter 2, we see another picture, because the Yom T'ruah is heralding two things. We have a thing that's happening in the spirit, and we have a thing that's happening in the natural. In one sense, we have an alarm that is heralding the return of the bride, the return of the bridegroom for the bride that is prepared for him. And we have the situation that's happening between the bride and the bridegroom, and then we have the situation that's happening for the foolish virgins and those who did not have oil in their lamps, the ones who he does not know. For them, it is not the call of the bridegroom. It is the call of the sound of war and vengeance and wrath upon those who are outside the covenanted protection of the Most High. So, in the one sense, you have the celebration of the return of the king or the bridegroom, and you have the rejoicing because our completion of our redemption and the fruit of that redemption is here. And on the one hand, we have great terror, and there's going to be weeping and gnashing of teeth from those who are outside of the bonds of that union. And so in Joel chapter 2, it's referencing an army of the Most High that is going to be ravishing or taking vengeance upon those who are outside the covenant. But for the discussion today, I want to stick with the bride and the bridegroom and what's happening with those people who are inside the covenant, inside the covenanted promises of the covenanted one, who is our head, the Most High, El Elyon, Yahudah El Shaddai, Yahudah our mighty, almighty one. And so in part 2 of this teaching, I'll deal with the day of wrath, but I want to stick with what's happening with the bride and the covenanted ones. In Numbers chapter 29, we also have reference to why we are to keep and what we are to do for the day of the blowing of the shofar, or the day of trumpets. Yom, which means day, T'ruah, which means shout, loud noise, blast, alarm, blast of war, or Simcha, rejoicing. All of that it means. And the Hebrew pictographs for Teruah is the Ta. We have the Ta, the Resh, the U, or some people say Wa, but the U and the Hey. So we have the Ta, which is symbolized by the mark. That's what it means. We have the Resh, which means the head or the highest. We have the U or the Wa, which means to secure, or to, it's the picture is a nail, like a tent peg, and it means to secure. And we have the Hey, which means behold or reveal. So Teruah in the Hebrew pictographs is also making a declaration. It's revealing the head that secures the covenant, or that highest one, head meaning our head, like Messiah is the head of the body. It's the revelation of that head, that one who secures the covenant. And so it is again affirmed there. And so when we look at Numbers 29, it tells us again to keep this memorial, to keep this rehearsal, to keep this appointment, and what to do. But it goes through the sacrificial law of which offerings are to be brought during the season. Now, just for clarity, we are still under the instructions of the Most High. We are still under the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. But we are not required to complete the sacrificial aspect of those instructions because they are completed in Messiah Yahushua, whose blood is greater than the blood of bulls and goats and any other sacrifice that could be brought. His blood, which was poured out once and for all, is the completion of the sacrificial law. So that is the law that we're no longer required to perform. And there's no temple to perform it. And the reason why it's okay for the temple to be gone away, the earthly temple that was the place where those sacrifices would be carried out, is because they're all fulfilled in Messiah anyway. He fulfilled them before as a witness for all time. And so now we have that blood applied to our body temples, which is the dwelling place of the Most High, the temple that is made by the hand of the Most High, not the hands of men. That is the temple that we are focused on, and that blood has been applied to our body temples. And so that sacrificial law is completed in Messiah. So let's turn over to Nehemiah. I'm going to read chapter 8, verses 1 through 12 in Nehemiah. Bear with me just a second here. Let me get there. Anybody have any questions? Okay, I am reading Nehemiah. If you have questions, please drop them in the comments and I will address them as soon as I complete the reading. I'm reading chapter 8, verses 1 through 12. And when the 7th month came, again, we're in the 7th month, and we're some of us are acknowledging today as the beginning of the 7th month. And some of us who are on a different calendar believe that the 7th month starts in a couple days. We're not going to worry about the calendar right now. We're just worried or focused on why we should be celebrating this time, whatever calendar you're on, and what it means to celebrate this time and how that is done. But before we go through the practicality of, the rejoicing and gathering the family together and laying the food out and playing the music and reading the prayers and all that, you need to know why you're doing it. How you celebrate with your family is one thing, but why you're celebrating with your family is the point. So that it is not just another day, but it is actually a set apart. It is a Kadash day unto the Most High. So I'm reading Nehemiah chapter 8, verses 1 through 12. And when the 7th month came, the children of Yashar'al were in their cities, and all the people gathered together as one man. So they gathered on one accord. They were gam yachad. They were in unity, in the open space that was in the front of the water gate. Now, the water gate is significant. And they spoke to Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the Torah of Moshe, which Yahudah had commanded Yashar'al. And Ezra the priest brought the Torah before the assembly of both men and women, and all who could hear with understanding, on the first day of the 7th month. And he read from it in the open space in front of the water gate from morning until midday, before the men and women and those who could understand. And the ears of all the people listened to the book of the Torah. And Ezra the scribe stood on a platform of wood which they had made for that purpose. And beside him on his right stood Mattithiah, and Shema, and Ananiah, and Uriah, and Kilkiah, and Maaseiah. And on his left stood Pedaiah, and Mishael, and Malchiah, and Hashem, and Kashbadanah, and Zechariah, and Meshullam. And Ezra opened the book in sight of all the people, for he was above all the people. And when he opened it, all the people stood up. And Ezra blessed Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah, the great Elohim. Then all the people answered, Amen, Amen, while lifting up their hands, and they bowed their heads and worshipped Yahuwah with their faces to the ground. And Yeshua and Bani and Sherebiah and Yamin and Akub and Shabbatai and Chodiah and Maaseiah and Kelita and Azariah and Yazabad and Hanan and Paliah and the Levites caused the people to understand the Torah while the people were in their place. So we have them understanding, the receiving, the understanding, and being converted, which is what it means to understand by the washing of the word, which is how we understand what happens when they come together on one accord, and the symbolism of them being at the water gate. And so another great example of the washing of the word and the power of understanding coming upon a unified body is what happened when the body was gathered together for Shavuot, or what some people call Pentecost, spoken of when the prophets, when the apostles gathered the body together and they were worshiping and they were all on one accord and the fiery tongues came upon them. So here we have the understanding, the mind of their understanding opening up and the people's hearts being converted when they heard the words, the word, the Debarim, the living word, and they were washed by the water of the word in front of the water gate when they were all on one accord and they were listening to the prophet Ezra read from the Torah of Moshe. I'm on verse 8. And they read in the book of the Torah of Elohim, translating to give the sense and cause them to understand the reading. And Nehemiah, who was the governor, and Ezra the priest, the scribe, and the Levites, who taught the people, said to all the people, This day is set apart to Yahuwah, your Elohim. Do not mourn or weep. For all the people wept when they heard the words of the Torah, because their hearts were circumcised. Their hearts were converted. And with that, they were moved in emotion and they were overcome with emotion. But this day is a day of great rejoicing. We are commanded not to weep because those who are a part of the covenant are supposed to be rejoicing and hailing the restoration of the bride to the bridegroom and the revealing of who the bridegroom is in that covenant relationship to the nation of Yashar'al and our redemption being complete in him. And so although we are emotional, just like a bride may cry during the overwhelming sense of what's happening at her wedding union, we are to rejoice. I'm reading from verse 10. Then he said to them, Go, eat the fat, drink the sweet, and send portions to those for whom none is prepared. For this is the day that is set apart to Yahuwah. Do not be sad, for the joy of Yahuwah is your strength. And the Levites were silencing all the people, saying, Hush, for the day is set apart, and do not be sad. And all the people went to eat and to drink and to send portions and made great rejoicing, because they understood the words that were made known to them. And so we want to, during this time, we want to celebrate. We want to send portions to those who don't have preparations. We want to gather together. We want to rejoice. And regardless of what's going on in the world, we want to connect to the joy of our bridegroom coming, because that joy is our strength. And keeping that focus, our focus on him, is what allows us to walk on this water and not sink, this turbulent water and not sink. So again, the significance of being at the water gate. I am going to turn over to 1 Samuel for Shemuel, chapter 2, and read verses 1 through 10. And Hannah prayed and said, my heart rejoices in Yahuwah. My horn, or my shofar, has been high in Yahuwah. My mouth is opened wide over my enemies, for I have rejoiced in your deliverance. There is no one set apart like Yahuwah, but there is no one besides you, and there is no rock like our Elohim. Do not multiply words so proudly. Let no arrogance come from your mouth, for Yahuwah an El of knowledge, and by him deeds are weighed. Yahuwah is an El of knowledge, and by him deeds are weighed. Bows of the mighty are broken, and those who stumble shall be girded with strength. The satisfied have hired themselves out for bread, and the hungry have ceased. Even the barren has borne 7. She who has many children pines away. Yahuwah puts to death and makes alive. He brings down to the grave and raises up. Yahuwah makes poor and makes rich. He brings low and lifts up. He raises the poor from the dust. He lifts the needy from the dunghill to sit with princes and make them inherit a throne of esteem. For the supports of the earth belong to Yahuwah, and he has set the world upon them. He guards the feet of his kind ones, but the wrong are silent in darkness, for man does not become mighty by power. Those who oppose Yahuwah are shattered. From the heavens he thunders against them. Yahuwah judges the ends of the earth and gives strength to his sovereign and exalts the horn of his anointed. Again, we are referring to the horn of his anointed, who is Messiah Yahusha. Messiah or Mashiach means anointed. It is the same dynamic equivalent in the English as the word Christ, or in the Greek Christos. In the Hebrew or Ibrit, we say Mashiach or Messiah. It means the anointed of the Most High Yah, who is the horn. He is the horn of our salvation. He is also our shofar. So I'm turning over to Yirmiyahu, which is Jeremiah, chapter 31. And I have 2 more chapters, and we're going to wind up after that. So I'm going to close after that. So I'm going to read Jeremiah 31. Because the focus is on the bride looking to herald the return or the coming of her bridegroom, the return of our King, the revelation of the head that secures the covenant. The day of Teruah, the day of his revelation, of his revealing, the day that we look for him to part the clouds and to appear on the Mount of Olives and to split that Mount of Olives, for the day of Yahuwah is coming. Yirmiyahu 31, at that time declares Yahuwah, I shall be the Elohim of all the clans of Yashar'al, and they shall be my people. Thus said Yahuwah, a people escaped from the sword, found favor in the wilderness. Yashar'al, when it went to find rest. We are in the wilderness now. We have been in the wilderness going through Jacob's trouble, in this wilderness, in this captivity, these 400 years of captivity. And here we are. But Yahuwah speaks to the woman in the wilderness, and he also prepares a place for her in the wilderness. And he speaks to her softly, and there he teaches her fidelity. And when she returns to him as one who is a covenant keeper, as a covenanted one. So, verse 2, thus says Yahuwah, a people escaped from the sword, found favor in the wilderness, Yashar'al, when it went to find rest. Yahudah appeared to me from afar, saying, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore I shall draw you with kindness. I am going to build you again, and you shall be rebuilt, O maiden of Yashar'al. Again you shall take up your tambourines, and go forth in the dances of those who rejoice. So we take up the tambourine, we take up the timbrel, and we rejoice, and we make a loud rejoicing of Teruah to the Most High upon his revelation. Again you shall plant vines on the mountains of Shemaron. The planters shall plant and treat them as common. From there shall be a day when the watchmen cry on Mount Ephraim, Arise and let us go up to Zion, to Yahudah our Elohim. For thus said Yahudah, Sing with gladness for Yaakov, and shout among the chief of the nations. Cry out, give praise, and say, O Yahudah, save your people. Hoshiana, the remnant of Yashar'al. See, I am bringing them from the land of the north, and shall gather them from the ends of the earth, from the land of the north. Gather them from the ends of the earth, from the diaspora. And among them the blind and the lame, those with child and those in labor, together a great assembly, returning here. With weeping they shall come, and with their prayers I bring them. Remember when in Nehemiah, the people, when they heard the instructions of the Most High, when they heard the Torah, they wept. They wept because they were overcome with emotion. That's what we refer. With weeping they shall come, and with their prayers I bring them. I shall make them walk by the rivers of water. There it is again. In a straight way, because he leads us beside still water. He restores our being. He leads us in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. He is our great shepherd. He is our Teruah, who calls the sheep with the sound of the ram's horn. For I shall be a father to Yashar'al, and Ephraim, he is my firstborn. Hear the word of Yahudah, O Gentiles, and declare it in the isles afar off, and say, He who scattered Yashar'al gathers them, and shall guard him as a shepherd his flock. For Yahudah shall ransom Yaakov, and redeem him from the hand of one stronger than he, taking us out of captivity, redeeming us from one stronger, from an oppressor. And they shall come in and shall sing on the height of Zion, and stream to the goodness of Yahudah, for grain and for new wine and for oil and for the young of the flock and the herd. And their being shall be like a well-watered garden, fountains of living water, like a well-watered garden, and never languish again. No more dry bones, no more dry desert place. Then shall a maiden rejoice in a dance, and young men and old together. And I shall turn their mourning to joy, and shall comfort them, and shall make them rejoice from their sorrow, and shall fill the being of the priests with fatness. And my people shall be satisfied with my goodness, declares Yahudah. Thus says Yahudah, a voice was heard in Ramah, wailing, bitter weeping, Rachel weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted for her children, because they are no more. Thus said Yahudah, hold back your voice from weeping, and your eyes from tears, for there is a reward for your work, declares Yahudah. And they shall return from the land of the enemy. He knows about the blood that runs through our streets, and this blood-soaked land that is filled with violence, and the blood of the martyrs, and the blood of the slain, and the blood of our children. He knows. And there is an expectancy for your latter end, declares Yahudah, and your children shall return to their own country. I have clearly heard Ephraim lamenting. You have chastised me, and I was chastised like an untrained cow. Turn me back, and I shall turn back. For you are Yahuwah my Elohim. And after my turning back, I repented. And after I was instructed, and that's what repentance means, or teshuvah. It means to turn. It means to turn, to return, to turn back. And what are we turning back to? We're turning back to the laws, statutes, and commandments. We're turning back to the covenant, the ketubah, the marriage ketubah that was given to us at Mount Sinai when Yashar'al came out of the first, well, not the first captivity, but when they came out of captivity in Mitzrayim or Egypt, and they came to the foot of the mountain, and they received the words, the Devarim, the commandments of the Most High, and they said, all that you have commanded us we will do. And then they went off in the wilderness and they broke the commandments. And so he is in the wilderness, he's teaching us fidelity. In this captivity, he's teaching us to return to him and to cry out to him with a shout, with a loud voice, and to behold that he is revealed as our kinsman redeemer, our covenanted one, our bridegroom, the lover of our soul, the one who does not forsake us. He is coming to restore to us his promises, his goodness in the land. And that is why we rejoice and raise and lift up our voices in Teruah to him. Verse 17. I'm reading Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 17. And there is an expectancy for your latter end, declares Yahuwah, and your children shall return to their own country. I have clearly heard Ephraim lamenting. You have chastised me, and I was chastised like an untrained calf. Turn me back, and I shall turn back. For you are Yahuwah my Elohim. For after my turning back I repented, and after I was instructed. I struck myself on the thigh. I was ashamed, even humiliated, for I bore the reproach of my youth. Is Ephraim a precious son to me, a child of delights? For though I spoke against him, I still remembered him. That is why my affections were deeply moved for him. I have great compassion for him, declares Yahuwah. Set up signposts, mark landmarks, set your heart toward the highway, the way in which you went. Turn back, O maiden of Yashar'al, turn back to the cities of yours. Till when would you turn here and there, O backsliding daughter? For Yahuwah has created what is new on earth. A woman encompasses a man. Thus said Yahuwah Sevaot, Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Yashar'al. Let them once again say this word in the land of Yahudah and in its cities when I turn back their captivity. Yahuwah bless you, O home of righteousness, mountain of set-apartness, and in Yahudah and in all its cities, farmers and those who journey with flocks shall dwell together. For I shall fill the weary being. He restores our soul. And I shall replenish every grieved being. At this I awoke and looked around, and my sleep was sweet to me. See, the days are coming, declares Yahuwah, that I shall sow the house of Yashar'al and the house of Yahudah with the seed of man and the seed of beast. And it shall be that as I have watched over them to pluck up and to break down and to throw down and to destroy and to afflict, so I shall watch over them to build and to plant, declares Yahuwah. In those days they shall no longer say, the fathers ate sour grapes and the children's teeth are blunted. But each one shall die for his own crookedness. Whoever eats sour grapes, his teeth shall be blunted. So he's referring to coming out from underneath the generational curses. And instead of receiving an inheritance of a generational curse, that you would be under the responsibility for your own disobedience. See, the days are coming, declares Yahuwah, when I shall make a new covenant, or a renewed covenant, with the house of Yashar'al and with the house of Yahudah, not like the covenant I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Mitzrayim, of Egypt, my covenant with which they broke, though I was a husband to them, declares Yahudah. For this is the covenant I shall make with the house of Yashar'al after those days, declares Yahudah. I shall put my Torah, my instructions, my law, my Torah, in their inward parts, and write it on their hearts, and I shall be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. And no longer shall they teach each one his neighbor, saying, Know Yahudah, for they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest of them, declares Yahudah. For I shall forgive their crookedness and remember their sin no more. Thus said Yahudah, who gives the sun for a light by day, and the laws of the moon and the stars for a light by night, who stirs up the sea and its waves roar. Yahudah Sebaot is his name. Yahudah of hosts is his name. If these laws vanish from before me, declares Yahudah, then the seed of Yashar'al shall also cease from being a nation before me forever. Thus said Yahudah, if the heavens above could be measured, and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, I would also cast off all the seed of Yashar'al, for all that they have done, declares Yahudah. See, the days are coming, declares Yahudah, that the city shall be built for Yahudah from the tower of Hananel to the corner gate, and the measuring line shall again extend straight ahead to the hill Gareb. Then it shall turn toward Goah, and all the valley of the dead bodies and of the ashes, and all the fields as far as the Wadi Kidron, to the corner of the horse gate toward the east, is to be set apart to Yahudah, and it shall not be plucked up or thrown down forevermore. Turn to Tehillim, Psalms chapter 98. Sing to Yahudah a new song, for he has done wonders. His right hand and his set-apart arm. And who is his right hand? Yahushua is his right hand. And Yahushua is the right hand or the arm of Yahudah. His right hand and his set-apart arm have brought him deliverance. And that is what his name means. Yahushua means Yah is our deliverer. Yahushua, Yah saves. Yahushua, Yah delivers. Yahudah has made known his deliverance. His righteousness he has openly shown. Before the eyes of the nations he has remembered his kindness and his trustworthiness to the house of Yashar'al. All the ends of the earth have seen the deliverance of our Elohim. Raise a shout to Yahudah, all the earth. Bring forth in song, rejoice. Break forth in song, rejoice, and sing praises. Sing to Yahudah with the lyre, and with the voice of the song, with trumpets and the sound of the horn. Raise a shout before Yahudah, the sovereign. Let the sea roar and all that fills it, the world and those who dwell in it. Let the rivers clap their hands. Let the mountains sing together for joy before Yahudah, for he shall come to judge the earth. He judges the world in righteousness and the people in straightness. And so we have him restoring the covenant with his bride, and we have him also judging the nations for disobedience. Yom T'ruah. And we're going to close with Yochanan, which is John chapter 15. We're going to close with John chapter 16, excuse me. These words I have spoken to you so that you do not stumble. They shall put you out of the congregations, but an hour is coming when everyone who kills you shall think he is rendering service to Elohim. So the context here is he has already given them the passage in John 15 that he is the true vine and we are the branches. He, being Yahushua, is the vine. We are the branches. And Yahuwah Eloheinu, Yahuwah, our mighty one, is the gardener. And every branch that is in Messiah Yahushua, that is in him, that is connected to him, that stays in his love, is complete in his joy, is complete in the work of being whole in him. And because of that connection and because of that testimony, we will also suffer like he suffered. We are also bred like he is bred. And so those who partake in our testimony become achad with us, as we who have partaken in who have partaken of his testimony are achad with him and achad with Yahudah. So we are one and one accord as a body in him, fully and wholly connected. And because of this, we will be persecuted in the earth. Because of this, those who are outside the covenant will hate. They'll be haters. We already know it. We already have haters. Many of you have been turned away from your families because you're walking in the way. And so he's speaking to you. Verse 2, they shall put you out of the congregations, but an hour is coming when everyone who kills you shall think he is rendering service to Elohim. And this they shall do to you because they did not know the Father nor me. But I have said these words to you so that when the hour comes to you, that you remember that I told them to you. And these words I did not say to you at the beginning, for I was with you. But now I go away to him who sent me. And not one of you asks me, where are you going? But because I have said these words to you, grief has filled your heart. But I say the truth to you, it is better for you that I go away. For if I do not go away, the Helper shall not come to you at all. But if I go, I shall send him to you. And having come, he shall reprove the world concerning sin. So we are in Elul. We are in that month of repentance, being reproved by the set apart spirit, being refined, being called to return, being called to raise up our voices and lamenting and lamentation, so that he hears our fever pitch of our cry and responds like a parent responds to a crying baby, and soothes and nourishes and makes everything okay, and is that balm in Gilead, is that healing, soothing, complete, loving balm, lovingly committed one. Verse 8, and having come, he shall reprove the world concerning sin and concerning righteousness and concerning judgment. So when we come through this time, that is part of that wilderness preparation for the time that is coming to receive him. Verse 9, concerning sin, because they do not believe in me. Concerning righteousness, because I go to my Father, and you see me no more. Concerning judgment, because the ruler of this world is judged. I still have many words, many debarim, to say to you. But you are not able to bear them now. But when he comes, he being the set apart spirit, the spirit of truth, he shall guide you into all truth. For he shall not speak from himself, but whatever he hears he shall speak. And he shall announce to you what is to come. He shall esteem me, for he shall take of what is mine and announce it to you. All that the Father has is mine. That is why I said that he takes from what is mine and announces it to you. A little while, and you do not see me. And again a little while, and you shall see me. In just a little while, we will see him. We are heralding the bridegroom comes. Therefore, some of his taught ones said to one another, what is this that he's saying to us? A little while, and you don't see me, and again a little while, and you shall see me, because I am going to the Father. So they said, what is this that he says, a little while? We do not know what he is saying. The disciples are confused. They don't understand the parable, and they're confused. What is he talking about? Yahushua therefore knew that they were wishing to ask him, And he said to them, are you asking one another about what I said a little while, and you do not see me again, and a little while you shall see me? Truly, truly, I say to you that you shall weep and lament, but the world shall rejoice. And you shall be grieved, but the grief shall become joy. The woman, remember the woman? The woman was grief when she was in labor. That's where we started. Because her hour has come. But as soon as she gives birth to the child, she no longer remembers the affliction for joy that a man has been born into the world. That woman is Yashar'al. And you, and who is the one that was born of the nation of Yashar'al, but the Messiah Yahushua, Lion of the tribe of Yahudah, King of Yashar'al, the one who comes forth from us, who was sent of our Abba Yah, who is Yah with us, Emmanuel, who is the deliverance and salvation of Yah, all things coming full circle. And you therefore have grief now, but you have grief now, but I shall see you again, and your heart shall rejoice, and no one will take your joy from you. And in that day you shall ask me none at all. Truly, truly, I say to you, whatever you ask whatever you ask the Father in my name, he shall give you. Until now you have not asked in my name. Ask and you shall receive, in order that your joy might be complete. These words I have spoken to you in figures of speech, but an hour is coming when I shall no longer speak to you in figures of speech, but I shall declare the Father plainly to you, because he is the expressed image of the Father. He is the expressed image of the Father, because he is the Father in the flesh. He is the Father taking on the flesh. He is the expressed image of the Father to restore all things so that we can rejoice under the covering of the cloud and enjoy our commune with him in his paradise, in his garden, in the cool of the day. And in verse 26, in that day you shall ask in my name, and I do not say to you that I shall pray to the Father on your behalf, for the Father himself does love you, because you have loved me, and have believed that I have come forth from Elohim. I came forth from the Father, and have come into the world. Again I leave the world and go to the Father. His taught ones said to him, see, now you are speaking plainly, and not using figures of speech. Now we know that you know all, and have no need that anyone should question you. But this we believe, that you came forth from Elohim. Yahushua answered them, do you now believe? See, an hour is coming, and has now come, that you are scattered. Again, the diaspora, each to his own. And we left him alone. We separated to our own way. Yet I am not alone, because the Father is in me. And these words I have spoken to you, that in me you might have shalom, you might have peace. In the world you have pressure. We have the oil that is being pressed out of us. But take courage. I have overcome the world. Take courage. He has overcome the world. And he is returning for us. And in John chapter 17, he prays for us, for those that are in the world. He doesn't pray for the world, but those of his that are in the world, that we will remain the Chad in him as he is the Chad in Abba Yah, because it is all one redemptive plan to restore the flesh to the spirit of life, to the truth, the way, and the life, through the door, which is Messiah Yahushua. He is the sheep gate, the door that brings us back into the fold, back into the covenanted relationship. And that sound of the ram's horn is what awakens us and snaps us into that alerted state to behold and herald the returning one, who is revealed as the one that sends and seals us to his covenant. And with that, we will close. I know that was, but I hope that you are able to receive this message with clarity and with revelation from on high. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I can address them in part 2 of this teaching. And I hope that this word was washing and watering and nourishing to your olive tree, to your tree. We are trees, and we're supposed to bring forth good, bountiful fruit, the fruit of the Ruach, the fruit of the Spirit, which ultimately is summed up in our love for one another. And so I hope that you had a good Shabbat. The sun is setting here in Florida, and the Shabbat is coming to a close. And so with that, I will say shalom, and thank you for joining in.